Hi guys, welcome to part 5 of this Django video series where I go to the Django official documentation and show you how I learn. So let's go through this. So far we have seen that we can go to localhost and see the list of polls, vote on any of these polls, see the count, and also log into the admin and see choices, questions. If you want to add anything, we can add. So far we have been able to do this. Now it's time to test our app. So let's dig into this automated testing. So what are automated tests? Tests are routines that check the operations of your code. Testing operates at different levels. Some tests might apply to tiny details. Okay, why you need to create test? Well, we know that because we don't want errors in the production. Test will save you time. Yes, it does, but it also takes time to create some tests, as I think. But it's fine, we will still do it. Test prevent our problem. Okay, and it also makes our code attractive, and it helps teams to work together. Okay, so we will start from here. The basic testing strategies. Some programmers follow a discipline called test-driven development. They actually write their test before they write their code. It's a tough thing though. Writing your first test. We identify a bug. Fortunately, there is a little bug in Paul's application for us to fix right away. The question dot was published recently. Method returns true if the question was published within the last day. Fine, which is correct. But also if the question's published date field is in the future. Alright, yeah, so that's the problem. If we put the question published date as future, for example, while we are adding any question and we add date as something like 5th, then this method was published recently will still return true, but it shouldn't though, because the date and time is in future, so it's not something recent, something in future. So let's see how we can fix it. Okay, we will first open Python shell. So we can leave this terminal session running so that we have got this Django administration and everything running, and we will open another terminal. Let's go back and then activate it again. Source bin activate, cd my site, and python manage.py shell. We import date and time, import Django.details, import time zone, I'm sorry, from there's extra space there, but it worked. From both. Okay, we need to import that model. Import question. Okay, so we are creating a variable called future question, and in that we are putting a question with published date is equal to time zone dot now plus date time dot time delta plus days is equal to 30. So it's basically time delta means like go in future or go back. So in this case we are going in future, so add 30 days into the current date and time. Basically that's what it's trying to say. And then okay, what went wrong? Oh, I'm sorry, there is an extra space there. Now plus one moment, future question is equal to question pub date is equal to time zone dot now plus date time dot time delta and add 30 days into that. Okay, worked. Oh, probably I was yeah, I forgot to add the s days plural. And then let's test future question dot it will test using this method was published recently. It says true. Well, it returns true, but it should be false actually, because it is not a recent question, because the question is in future. So we will create a test to expose the bug. Okay, let's go to polls/test.py. Let's first copy and paste it, and then we go through it. Okay, so we imported date and time. There might be something, there might be a library or something called test case. Import question. We are importing this model. So now I'm not sure if there is it actually matters that what name we give to the test. So we will get to know about this later on. So question model test, and it's taking test case as a parameter or an argument. Define test was published recently with future question. Was published recently returns false for questions whose published date is in future. So time is equal to time zone dot now plus date 30. Future question is basically we are doing the same thing what we did here. Future date is this. Future question is question published date is equal to time. Okay. Let's first see that what it returns when we do time zone dot now. Yeah, 3rd March. When we do date time, or let's do this Yeah, so it basically returns 2nd of April, which is 30 days from today. And then self assert is, so future question was published recently, false. So I think this argument is says that what should return false. So here we have created Django.test.test class subclass with a method that creates a question instance with the update in future. We then check the output of was published recently, which ought to be false. Okay, so that's how we test it. Let's do it. Oh, I think I have to close Python shell. Exit Python, not Python shell, I mean Django shell. So now we do it in normal terminal. Python manage.py test and pulse. Or did we save it actually? Yeah. Failures is equal to 1. Yeah, so test failed actually because it returned true. So if instead you are getting name error, then you have missed a step in part 2 where we had import. Okay, we are not getting that error. So what happened here actually, this command looked for tests in Pol's application. So inside this application it looked for tests. It found subclass Django test class case, test case class. It created a special database for the purpose of testing. Okay, that's cool. I think it creates something virtual. And it looked for test methods, ones whose name begin with test. So when we did this, Python manager API test, it looked for test methods, ones whose name begins with test. Okay, in test underscore was published recently with future question, it created a question instance whose published date field is 30 days in the future, because we have put this code here. And then using assert is method, it discovered that was published recently returns true, though we wanted it to return false. Okay, so now let's actually check it. We already know that problem is question was published recently should return false if its publication date is in future. Published date is in future. Amended method in models.py, and will only return true if the date is also in the past. So in the models, so earlier what we were doing is that if published date is more than or equal to current time minus 1 day. So it's basically if today is 3rd March and if the post was published any time after the 2nd March, it will show here as it was recently published. But now we are changing it to first verifies that now minus date time dot time delta days is equal to 1. So first it actually guessed this, that okay, today is 3rd March, I think it's 4th March today. Oh, it's 3rd. So first it checks that okay, 3rd March minus 1 day, which is 2nd March, So, and if it is, if the published date is less, is bigger than, actually, yeah, more than or equal to now minus 1 day, yeah, and then self.published date is also less than, means before now. So it should be between, if we take today as example, it should be between today and yesterday, not between yesterday at any time in future. Okay, and now we had how many? One failure, and when we test again, okay, now is not defined. Now is not defined. Import date, time zone. Okay, sorry, I first need to define now is equal to time zone dot now. Shouldn't return any error now. Okay, and one test and all went okay, no failures. Good. More comprehensive test. So we go again here in the test and create another test. If test was published recently with old question, so we are testing it with an old question. Time is equal to time zone dot now minus 1 day and 1 seconds. Yeah, so this shouldn't actually come in recent one because it missed it by 1 second. So old question is equal to question and published date is equal to time. So self dot assert is old question that was published recently. It should return false in this case. Test was published recently with recent question. So in this case we are doing 23 hours 59 minutes 59 seconds. So this should I'm not sure if, because it's just about 1 second, we will miss 1 second, while probably if code takes more than 1 second to execute, then it will show wrong. Otherwise it should go well. That's a bit complicated. Let's see what happens actually. And now we have 3 tests that confirm question that was published recently returns sensible value for past, recent and future questions. Again, polls is a minimal application, but however complex it grows in the future, and whatever other code it interacts with, we now have some guarantee that the method we have written test for will behave in expected ways. Test a view. The polls application is fairly undiscriminating. It will publish any question, includes one whose published date field lies in the future. We should improve this. Setting a publish date in the future should mean that question is published at the moment but invisible until then. Okay, yeah. So a test for the view. Django provides a test environment. So to access that, let's go to Python manage.py shell, and from django.test.details import setup test environment, setup test environment. So this installs a template renderer. It's kind of a PC or a client which will allow us to test it. You might get unexpected results if your time zone in setting is incorrect. We need to import test client class. Later in test.py we will use Django.test case class. Comes with its own client, so this won't be required. So next is from Django.test import client. Client is equal to client. Okay, so now our client is ready, or kind of a virtual PC you can say is ready. So response is equal to client.get not found. Yeah, because we haven't got anything on if on the main index page. If we go here, we haven't got anything. Yeah, 404. That's why it says not found. So it's working like a PC actually. You should expect a 404 from that address. If you instead see an invalid HTTP host header and a 404 and a 400 response, you probably omitted the setup test environment. Because we haven't, we are getting everything fine. And in this response variable, now we have got many things. We have got a status code, response dot status code is 404 now. That's good. So you can even get something like http google.com or maybe https. Yeah, I think there is something wrong with this. Status code 404. It works fine, but I think it works only with the application itself, not any external URLs. So anyways, we will set it to this and see the status code, which is 404. And now we will use reverse. Reverse is one of the coolest thing that I learned about Django. We don't actually need to hard code the URLs. it will actually find that what's URL for this particular view, you can say. So it will go into the polls app and see what's the URL for index, polls views. So what's the URL for index? Not views, probably URLs. Yeah, for index we have got the main root URL. Yeah, the index of polls, not index of the whole project, index of polls, basically localhost 8000 / polls. So this is the index of polls. So if response is equal to response is equal to client.get, and it actually returns is equal to client.get and this same thing, or not even /, just blank. Yeah, return nothing. Or if we do, for example, forget about reverse as well. Get this is not found. What about this? This is not found. Oh, sorry, this will be, I think this will return localhost 8000 / polls. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to do these experiments to know what's happening in the background. So for this index we have got response.status code. This is 200 and 200 means it worked fine. So I'm just trying to find it, what it returned when we did reverse. Should we do reverse polls index? Okay, understood. So now what it does is it actually, so localhost is in there already. It's just putting the polls in front of that. That's why google.com was not working. So if we do this, same thing. Oh, I'm sorry, not reverse. If we just do polls, yeah, and then we see response.status code. Well, that's bad. Okay, yeah. So it worked quite differently. A 1 / can, make differences. So polls. Okay, so this seems to work fine, and we will leave it as it is, and let's see what's the content. Response dot content, it's actually doing this, returning polls, whatever was there, polls. And if you see the source of this, Basically, this is what it is returning. And response dot context latest question list. The reason why one moment. Yeah, it is returning all those because we passed it here in the view. Where is the view? Here. So latest question list. Yeah. So here we passed it. That's how we were accessing it on the views. So if we go to index, so everything is in this variable latest underscore question dot, latest underscore question underscore list. So this is the variable we were accessing by doing this. Cool. Let's improve our view. The list of polls shows polls that aren't published yet. Okay, so currently if we go to the views, and this query returns all the questions, last 5 questions, and order it by published date. So we don't want that. We want to omit, we want to remove those from the latest 5. The question shows published date is in future. So in this case, now we are actually going to make some changes, and I think we did import time zone into it, didn't we? No, we did not. So let's copy it and paste it here. And now how we are going to do is get query set will return question dot objects. Instead of just order by, it will filter few of the data from here, and in filter we have got something. Let's do what it is. Published date underscore LTE questions whose published date less than or equal. Okay, I think LTE means less than or equal to. Okay, this is kind of a magic thing. Underscore LTE is equal to time zone dot now. And then order by we want to order it in the descending order, so that's why we are putting minus in front. Pub underscore date and last 5. Okay, now it will only show those. It will only show those posts which has got which has got the date in last 5 days. So if today's date is 3rd March, and the post date is 1st March, it won't be shown. If the post date is 4th March, it won't be shown, or any date in future won't be shown. So testing our new view, import test. Let's go to test again. This chapter is a bit complicated but important. Polls Django.urls, import reverse. Okay, imported. Now create question. We'll have to create another method in it, another function in it. Create underscore question, and we want to take question text and days. Fine. That we want to say time is equal to time zone dot now plus date time dot time delta, and we want to add 5 days in it. So days is equal to days. So basically we want to add this days which was passed here. Okay, and now what we want to return, question dot objects dot create question text is equal to question text. So we are taking the variable from here and published date is equal to time which was provided there. Published date is equal to time which we defined here. Fine. What else? We want to create test for the views. Response is equal to self.client get response. Self.assert equal response dot status score is 200, contains no polls are available. If no questions exist, an appropriate message is displayed. Okay. What is this? Self.assert query set equal responder context latest question list. Is there any line break here? Not sure. $200. Yeah, there isn't any line break, so this code needs to go there. Test underscore past question with the published date in the past are displayed on the index page. So that's another thing. So these things will actually tell us that what's happening with our test, that whether there are no posts to show, or there are no questions to show, or there are some questions on the index page uh, with published date in the past, or there is a question with published date in the future. But one thing to notice here is that it is not actually trying to pass the front end and then trying to see that what was being displayed there. It is actually just accessing the variable which was passed to view that time, instead of just going through and scraping what's being displayed. You just accessing from that variable the context. Test future question and past question. Okay, this will tell both. Two past. Well, I don't know what you use of this. Two past questions. I still put it. Bit boring, the chapter. Let's look at some of these more closely. First, a question shortcut function create question to take some repetition out of the process of creating questions. Question list is empty. We create a question, verify that if it appears in the list. We create a question with published test in future. The database is reset for each test method, so the first question is no longer there, and so again an index shouldn't have any questions in it, and so on. In effect, we are using the test to tell a story of admin input and user experience on the site, and checking that at every state and for every new charge in the state of the system, the expected results are published. Testing the detail view. What we have works well. However, even the future questions don't appear in the index, you just can still reach them if they know or guess the right URL. So we need to add a similar constraint to detail view. Okay. Exclude any questions that aren't published yet. So questions.object filter. Okay, this thing can actually come to use. It is actually useful in some cases, even when we are making some projects or publishing anything in future. You don't want your visitors to visit a link only to see that the published date is 5th of March while 5th of March is in future. So let's go to the views. Where is the views and detail view. We will leave everything as it is, and what we will do is this method or function here. We are going to make some changes into this, into the query set, that only show the detail of those questions whose published date is less than or equal to time zone.now. So if there are some posts, we don't check it is in past and all, because it's fine, it's just a detail page, so we can show the questions which have been published in past, but we don't want to show any questions which are not even published yet or which will be published in the future. So we are just removing those. So we are only showing the questions whose published date is less than or equal to now. So anything before today to current time will only be displayed, nothing else. And of course we did add some, of course we will add some tests so that to check that a question whose published date is in the past can be displayed and that one with the published date in the future is not. Okay, another test. Let's go here. Test future question. So what we were doing so far is that okay, 1 second. I think I've got something wrong here. First on it. Otherwise it will show some indent error. Let me actually fix it. Okay, so in the I think we can do it. We can take it one step backward. Yeah. So we had two classes, one for question model test and one for index view test. Now we are actually going to create one for detail view test. Let's copy it first and then we read it. So what's happening here is the detail view of question with the published date in the future returns a 404 not found. Future question is this. Days is 5 days in future. So if today's date is 3rd March, it will be 8th March. And then URL is reverse. Also it will open the detail view. And argument is future question dot id. Now where is it getting it from? Okay, it will create an id as we create the question. It will create an id for that as well. Response is equal to self don't forget that it is not creating any id in the database now. It is just a temporary database that will be created to test it. Response is equal to self.client.get URL. So it will find the response for this URL. Self.assert equal response status code 404. So ideally, if there is any future question, then the status code of that of a URL of that particular question should be 404, or it should, when this URL is being accessed, when that question is being accessed, whose published date is in future, it should give 404 error. Seems like somebody is drilling something in my neighbor. Test underscore pass underscore question. If URL is equal to detail space, argument is equal to past question dot id, response is equal to self dot client get URL, and we want to check if it contains past question dot question text in. So it should contain actually. So in the response, when we visit URL for a past question, it should actually show this text past question on that particular URL when we are accessing this particular question. So I think this assert contains, it actually kind of scrap the URL or scrap the response, whatever is coming, scrapping. So it will scrap this bit and see So in this case, future question will be created temporarily here somewhere, and that id maybe 8, it will be accessed, and Django will test if the text is somewhere in the response question text. So question text is test past question, so it should return. If it returns, then it's fine. If it doesn't, then there's something wrong with that. Ideas for more tests. Okay, we have got enough, we don't need more. Too much for today. When testing, more is better. No, not for now. Further testing. They're more into this testing chapter, but we are only doing basics now. We don't really want to go into deep. So okay, we will discuss more about Django's part 6 in the future. I'll probably create another part today someday, so today sometime, or probably tomorrow. Okay guys, please don't forget to subscribe, because I'll keep posting some videos about how I learn, and you will see my progress with you. Thank you guys.